Good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, March 30th, 2021. Does anyone have any issue that they want to bring up relative to mindset? Anything going on that you want to discuss? Yes, no?
I'll make a comment.
Go ahead.
Just the idea of trying to rise above certain situations and having difficulty doing that.
Okay, you want to give a specific example?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote an offer for a buyer, 23 offers in, 23 counter offers given out. Agent said on Friday they get back to us by Friday night. Didn't hear anything. Saturday, didn't hear anything. Can't leave a voicemail. It's full. Text, don't respond. Email, don't respond. Sunday, don't hear anything. Monday, status changes in Redfin and my client notifies me. Never heard back from the agent. Called, voicemail still's full. Doesn't respond to text. And what I want to say is email all 3 agents and say, would it be totally crazy to say, hey, before you update the MLS, to call or email all the agents to say you didn't get it. And then I'm like, nah, I'm going to sound like a jerk. So just drop it and move on. But then I have a hard time, quote unquote, letting go.
Okay, great example. What do you have a hard time letting go of?
Just, what's the word? It's, it just seems insensitive to, or just part of their job to just let the agents know you didn't get it versus just finding out through Redfin, just a common courtesy, like professionalism. That's all.
All right, and why is that important?
Just mutual respect among colleagues. I'll do it for them, they do it for me. And maybe not. Maybe that's just my thinking, and that's not how this business works.
All right. So this is a great example. You're worrying about something or something's caught your attention that you have no control over. Would you disagree?
Correct. 100% agree.
All right. And the fact is your buyer did not get the property. That's what happened.
Correct.
All right. And we have a choice. We can either just let it go, right? Didn't happen. We didn't get it. Circumstances are irrelevant, and we can let it go, or we can do what?
Let it suck up headspace.
We can replay the situation over and over and over again in our mind, correct?
Yes.
And what does that do for you?
I don't have an answer.
Anyone else want to comment on that?
It drains her.
Clouds your judgment.
Creates stress.
Keeps the memory and the pain.
What it really seems like to me is that Margaret, yes, the other people, the other agents are unprofessional, but if I were in Margaret's shoes, what I would be feeling is embarrassed that my client had to find out, not from me, what was really going on. And then how do you approach that so that they haven't lost trust that you're really going to keep guiding them? So you might have to say something like, it's, must be really frustrating to see this online and not hear it from me. So you're kind of letting it go, but you're also like acknowledging it at the same time.
All right. So, all right. So Cindy, you heard what just happened. Describe what it would look like to let that moment in, deal with that moment, and let that moment go. What would that look like?
So for
Real
me,
life, in real life.
real life, um, first I would be really irritated at the other agent. I would want to tell my client how unprofessional they are, therefore making me seem more professional. But I would stop, and I mean, that's sort of old version of me. I would stop, and I feel that I would acknowledge it, similar to what I just said. I would have to say to my client, either I'm really sorry that you had to find out by seeing the status change online. Um, I don't know what would be next, but hopefully we'd have some dialogue around that, and they might say, we understand that it's not your fault, but we're still really upset.
Okay, so let me just ask, does it make any difference? Does it make any difference whether your client gets it or doesn't get it?
No, but it makes a difference if you are the person to deliver the bad news, I feel. And I always deliver the bad news with a phone call. It's not a text or an email. You didn't get it. It's a phone call. And when that opportunity gets taken away from you and you don't have any control over that, that's the hard part to
Oh, all right. So, but again, aren't you really describing, I want to look good? Isn't that what you're really describing?
well, I'm describing that I want to do my job well. And like, part of my job is to help my client when there's a disappointment.
Okay. However, how much of what you described is you being worried about you?
I just don't, maybe I'm not saying it right. I don't look at it that way. I really get so like all in with my people, and when they have disappointments, I feel it, and I want to be, you know, I can't be empathetic. I'm not the buyer, but I can be sympathetic.
Well, I think it's just the opposite. You want you want to be empathetic. You don't want to be sympathetic.
Steve, would you be opposed if I've added an idea?
Go ahead.
From I think what we're asked to do with letting go is not so much analyze like our feelings or come at them from all these different directions, but really just take that seat of the witness consciousness, and as we practice getting some more distance between, some space, even just a little, just a centimeter of space between the experience and what it's bringing up in us, and being the observer of knowing that that's happening, that space allows us to then let things go. But so that would be, even that Margaret was bringing this up, that's like a tiny hair of space between her and what was happening when she was describing it. I think that's why we all want to describe what we're feeling. But even in one's own body and mind, just to kind of, like you've been saying, take the breath and observe. Okay, this makes me feel, this is what the body is feeling right now. This is what's happening. And then engage in whatever's going on. I don't know if that's helpful, but.
So what is it you're trying to say?
Well, I mean, what I'm hearing you and Cindy go back and forth is whether her feeling was right or wrong.
What are you trying to say right now?
What I'm trying to say is letting go is about creating space, and between what's going on the outside and where we sit in our higher selves or in our beings.
Let's go back to this situation. What I heard with Margaret, and maybe I heard it wrong, it was she's upset because she didn't get what she wanted.
Would you be opposed if I made a comment?
No.
Just in this particular situation where it's going over several days, and if we think back to the call with Chris Voss, where he said, you've got to stay on top of this with your clients. You've got to keep them informed. You've got to be calling them all along, that you'd have conversations with them over the course of these days. I haven't heard from the agent. I've reached out. I'm not getting any feedback. So that you've made those steps and stayed in contact with them, so that at the end, when they get this bad news, at least you have done what you're supposed to do.
Again, my question here, why should any of this, what Margaret described, bother you, the agent?
Well, it doesn't matter why, it's just hitting the stuff. That's what my point.
Because it makes
doesn't
you
matter.
look bad. It's because you're losing control of the situation and you want to look like you're in control in front of your client. Otherwise, what is our purpose? Why are we here? Why do they need us if we have no control over anything?
I would disagree. I would agree with that, Danielle. I mean, I think it, it would make me look bad. It would make anybody look bad.
How does it make you look bad? I'm curious.
I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying that's what it sounds like. But
No, but I mean, this idea of I look bad, where does that come from?
well, because I think there's a deep need to be of service, but that can get mixed up.
Well, you're right. There's a need, there's being of service versus wanting to look good or not wanting to look bad. I'm trying to separate those two things. If you're going back to what Susan said in this example, I get on the phone every day. I haven't heard anything from the agent. We haven't gotten any communication back. Day 2, still haven't heard anything from the agent. No communication back. Day 3, still haven't heard anything from the agent. No communication back. Oh, obviously, the agent went ahead and did something with someone else. This probably feels really shitty for you. Okay. How do you want to proceed?
That's fine unless you are on some level taking personal responsibility for
Well,
things outside of your control.
Right, but this is the whole point here.
Right.
Margaret, you were torturing yourself over what was happening. Yes, no?
I don't know if I'd call it torturing.
It was bothering you. It was bothering you to the point that you wanted to call up and say, what the fuck?
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
This has happened to me before, but I think most importantly, I just don't take it personally because it's not because of you that she did this. Obviously, what I share with my clients, when this happened to me a couple of times, I just share with them, I've made several attempts to reach out, text, call, email, no response. In the market that we're in, most likely the agent's overwhelmed. She has many offers. And that's just the way I deal with it, but I don't take it like personally because I'm sure she probably did get overwhelmed. I try to kind of give them the benefit of the doubt. And then just, I just share with my clients, I just try to remain positive and say onward and upward. Let's move on to the next one. We'll keep going till we get you what, one that you want.
Well, this is the whole point. Nothing that happens is ever personal.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that happens is ever personal. However, we tend to take everything that happens, we tend to take it what?
Personally.
Personally.
Personal.
Everything
Steve?
that happens is billions of years in the making. It's going to happen whether we're here or not. Your buyer, Margaret, is either going to buy a home or they're not going to buy a home, whether you're here or you're not here. That is the reality of, you know, what you face every single day in your business. You're dealing with buyers and sellers who are going to buy whether you're here or not, or they're not going to buy whether you're here or not. And you're dealing with sellers who are going to sell whether you're here or not, or they're not going to sell whether you're here or not. And can we learn that the situation that Margaret described, you know, your feelings are just your feelings. They're neither good nor bad. They're just feelings. And you want to be aware of how the situation makes you feel. And you don't have to think about it. What you're doing, Margaret, is you're thinking about this situation as if we think about it enough, we'll feel better about it. The only way to feel better is to do what?
Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. We don't need to think it through. We don't need to talk it through. We don't need to debate. Do I call them up? Do I not call them up? We don't need to do any of that. Why?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's already done. The deed's done.
I mean,
They didn't
Steve,
get
if
the
you,
property.
if you kind of step back, the only thing that happened was you made an offer. The agent didn't respond to you. They accepted an offer. Your client saw it on the internet.
Right.
Like, that's it.
That's
Like
it.
everything else has been added by
It's irrelevant.
us, the person. Like you're the one, I'm me, we are the ones who like wind it up and make it this whole thing. It's like we get hooked by it, where it's like, if you can learn to just be like, all right, this happened, and you know, and it comes, I think, from fear of loss. Like, I'm going to lose face. I'm going to lose the client. I'm going to lose. I'm me. Something terrible is going to happen to me because of this. And I think, yeah, I think it's, you know, it's tough to let things go, but that's all that happened.
Again, it's understanding, and this is a core thing. Everything that happens is temporary. Everything that happens comes and goes. So can we let the moment in? The moment in that we're bidding on a property. We're bidding on a property. We're keeping the client informed. Client didn't get the property. So what do we do now? We let that moment go of what happened, and now we open ourselves up to the next moment in the process of helping them get a home, whatever that looks like. And now we let that moment in. And then when that moment ends, we let that moment go. And now we open back up to the next moment in terms of helping them get a home.
May I say something?
Sure.
Oftentimes with the market we're in, at least from what I'm seeing, you know, most things have multiple offers unless they're overpriced. And it always ends up that I have found that my buyers get the property they were meant to get. And I kind of try to make them understand that this one may not have been the one that's meant to be. We're going to find you a better one. And they usually kind of buy into that. So that has helped me to get through some of those difficult times. Maybe it might help other people that are going through that.
Well, we could debate that one, whether they're meant to get it or not. It's what all of you know. If you're working with buyers right now in this environment, especially if there's multiple offers, there's typically going to be one buyer who does what?
Gets it.
Well, right. And why does that buyer get it?
They do what it takes.
It's not that they do what it takes.
They're
They blow it out of the water.
They pay more
They pay more, and why do they pay more?
because they can and they want to and they are willing to.
And it's not about what?
It's about emotion.
What the property's worth.
Right. It's not about what the property's worth. It's not about logic. It's they want the property and they can buy it.
Mhm.
And there's not a logical, I mean, it may be logical in their mind in terms of I want this and I can afford it. And this is what you're dealing in. I've heard this numerous times. My buyer's analytical. My buyer's doing spreadsheets. My buyer, can't get their arms around what the value of the home is. That buyer is not going to do what in this marketplace?
Not going to win.
Not going to buy a home. And you letting that buyer continue to do that, go through that process, going to drive yourself crazy. Anyway, the idea, Margaret, going back to your, this is what you guys are dealing with all the time. And do you have the ability to approach? This is what you want to think about. Let the moment in, deal with what's ever going on, and then let that moment go and open yourself back up to the next moment without judgment, without bias. Doing it with an empty mind and an open heart. Does any of that mean anything to any of you? Does that represent a different approach?
Mhm.
All right, to be continued. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.